Welcome to your quiet corner of cosmic discovery. I'm here to share something genuinely fascinating about our universe at just the right volume for drifting off. You know, I've been thinking about something that feels both a little hopeful and a little mysterious, the idea of the great filter. It's this quiet question that keeps nudging at me. If the universe is so vast, why haven't we stumbled upon any signs of other civilizations yet? There's something remarkable about this puzzle, and tonight I'd love to share why it might tell us something profound about our place in the cosmos. Your support through likes and subscriptions keeps this tranquil laboratory of knowledge glowing softly. Tell me in the comments what scientific concept has always fascinated you. First, let's create the perfect space for learning. Cocoon yourself in comfort, release any lingering tension, and let your breath become soft and steady. In the deep hush of midnight, when the world's bustle softens, and the sky above blooms with 1,000 silent points of light, a question stirs as old as consciousness itself. Are we alone? That simple yearning, a whisper threading through every age and culture, has haunted humanity since the first eyes lifted to the stars. All our stories, our myths, our feverish dreams, so many of them begin with a gaze upward, a longing for kinship in the vastness, or the shadow of something unknown gliding behind the veil of night. Long before telescopes or radio signals, our ancestors peered into the wandering patterns of planets, the erratic flights of comets, the shifting tapestry of constellations. To them, the heavens were not an empty vault, but a living, breathing realm. Spirits, gods, and otherworldly travelers inhabited the sky, their stories etched in the slow dance of celestial bodies. The ancient Greeks spoke of Zeus and his thunderbolts descending from Olympus on clouds. The Dogon people of Mali, for reasons still debated by scholars, told tales of the Sirius star and its invisible companion long before modern science confirmed its existence. Across continents, from the Norse sagas to the Aboriginal Dreamtime, the stars were a theatre of possibility, sometimes a source of comfort, sometimes of dread, always a reminder that the universe was vaster than the eye could see. With time, as the tools of inquiry sharpened and the boundaries of knowledge stretched outward, our sense of the cosmic neighborhood shifted. The invention of the telescope in the early 17th century transformed our relationship with the heavens. Galileo's trembling hands guided glass and metal to reveal craters on the moon, moons circling distant Jupiter, and the ragged, imperfect edge of the sun. The sky was not immutable. It was a place of dynamism, of complexity, of worlds upon worlds. Suddenly, the possibility that other planets might harbor life, perhaps even intelligent life, felt less like fanciful speculation and more like a question waiting for an answer. In the centuries that followed, this curiosity only grew. Science fiction, that vibrant engine of speculation, became both a mirror and a beacon for our hopes and fears about extraterrestrial life. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein gave us the first taste of life artificially created, not from alien worlds, but from earthly ambition. H.G. Wells, with his Martian invaders in The War of the Worlds, played upon Victorian anxieties and the thrill of the unknown. As radio towers rose and rockets breached the upper air, our stories multiplied. Little green men, vast galactic empires, and cryptic signals from the void. Yet, beneath all the fiction, a strange silence endured. The more we learned, the more the universe seemed to expand, not just in space, but in mystery. The famous Drake equation, scribbled on a blackboard in 1961, tried to estimate the number of civilizations in our galaxy capable of communication. It balanced the hopeful and the cautious, the number of stars, the fraction with planets, the odds of life and intelligence and technology. It was a formula pregnant with possibility, yet every term was shadowed by ignorance. We knew so little, and as the decades slipped by, the silence deepened. This silence, the great unanswered echo, pressed itself upon the minds of scientists and philosophers alike. If life has arisen here, why not elsewhere? If civilizations can grow, build and reach out, why have we heard nothing? This is the heart of what's known as the Fermi paradox, named after the physicist Enrico Fermi, who is said to have asked, over lunch with colleagues, "Where is everybody?" The paradox is stark. Given the sheer number of stars in the galaxy and the time scales involved, even slow-moving civilizations should have had time to fill the Milky Way many times over. And yet we see no signs, hear no signals, catch no glimpse of far-off minds. The night is still, but for us. From this enigma arises a chilling concept, the Great Filter. Imagine for a moment the long journey from stardust to stargazers. Life, in all its exuberance, bursts forth from humble beginnings, chemicals swirling in ancient seas, molecules whispering secrets, self-replicating, adapting, evolving. For billions of years, the Earth was a laboratory of possibility. Simple cells, then complex, plants painting the continents green, animals crawling, swimming, soaring. Out of this teeming chaos, intelligence flickered into being. And at last, a species emerged that could question, could build, could dream of other worlds. But what if this journey is not a gentle slope, but a gauntlet strewn with obstacles? The Great Filter suggests that somewhere along the path from lifeless matter to cosmic civilization, there exists a barrier, perhaps many barriers, so formidable that almost nothing passes. It could be the origin of life itself. Perhaps the leap from chemistry to biology is so vanishingly rare that we are a miraculous accident. Or it could be the step from simple cells to complex ones, a process that took nearly 2 billion years on Earth. Maybe intelligence or the use of technology is even more unlikely. Or perhaps the filter lies in our future. Civilizations might inevitably destroy themselves with their own power, or succumb to cosmic hazards before they can spread beyond their cradle. The Great Filter is not a single obstacle, but a series of possible gates, each one winnowing the possibilities, each one explaining, perhaps, why the stars seem so empty. If the filter is behind us, if the rare step is already past, then we are, in a sense, the lucky survivors of a cosmic lottery. If it lies ahead, then our future is shadowed by unknown dangers, and our silence-enshrouded galaxy is a mausoleum of vanished hopes. It is a sobering thought, but not a hopeless one. For the Great Filter, though it casts a long shadow, also sharpens the question of what it means to be alive, to wonder, to search. This search is not only scientific, it is deeply human, an urge that wells up in dreams and stories, in the quiet moments when we contemplate the vastness and our place within it. Even as the silence persists, our fascination with the possibility of others has never waned. In remote deserts and snowy forests, people have claimed to see strange lights, to hear voices where none should be. The modern era has offered its own myths, saucers darting through the sky, crop circles pressed into fields, close encounters in lonely places. Governments have opened and closed files, skeptics and believers have debated with fervor, and the truth remains elusive, sometimes it seems, because we yearn so deeply for it to be otherwise. Yet alongside the myths, real science advances. In 1977, the Big Ear radio telescope in Ohio recorded a signal, the so-called WOW signal, a brief, strong burst from the direction of Sagittarius. For a moment, hope flared, perhaps at last a message from another mind. Yet the signal was never repeated, and its origin remains unknown. Since then, projects like SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, have swept the skies, tuning into 1 million frequencies, listening for that telltale pattern that would announce, across light years, the presence of another. So far, the stars remain silent, but the listening continues, patient and persistent. In the meantime, our own planet brims with life in every conceivable form, each one a testament to the tenacity and inventiveness of evolution. Extremophiles thrive in boiling vents and frozen wastes, microbes drift through high clouds, and deep beneath the surface, strange communities flourish without sunlight. Each discovery reminds us that life is adaptable, resilient, capable of arising in places we once thought inhospitable. If life can take root here, might it not do so elsewhere? Scientists now peer at distant exoplanets, their atmospheres teased apart by the faintest glimmer of starlight. They search for biosignatures, the chemical fingerprints of life, and technosignatures, the markers of intelligence, strange patterns of light, radio waves, or even the telltale glow of artificial illumination. The Kepler and TESS missions have revealed that planets are common, not rare, that the universe may teem with worlds, each one a stage for its own drama. Perhaps somewhere life has stirred, intelligence has blossomed, and a civilization has turned its gaze outward, just as we have. Yet the great filter lingers in our imagination, a riddle without a clear answer. Is our loneliness a sign of rarity or of fragility? Are we pioneers or the last survivors of a cosmic culling? The question shapes our dreams and our fears, our science and our stories. We imagine first contact as a moment of transcendence or of terror. We invent languages for aliens, design messages encoded in mathematics and music, build telescopes to catch the faintest whisper from the stars. The yearning for connection runs deeper than mere curiosity. It is bound up with our sense of meaning, with the desire to know our place in the grand scheme. If we are alone, then the responsibility for life's future rests with us. If not, then we are part of a greater tapestry, woven with threads of mind and spirit stretching across the cosmos. Each possibility is awe-inspiring, and each carries its own weight. In the hush of night, with only the stars for company, the mind drifts to other times and places. Perhaps long ago, on some distant shore, a child looked up and wondered if the twinkling lights were campfires of distant tribes or the lanterns of gods. Today we wonder not so differently, though our campfires are radio telescopes and our lanterns are the glowing screens of data. The methods have changed, but the yearning remains the same. This longing has shaped not only our stories, but our science, driving us to build ever larger instruments, to listen ever more carefully, to ask ever more refined questions. We have learned to decipher the faintest signals, to sift the noise of the universe for the music of intelligence. We have sent our own messages outward, golden records bearing greetings in 100 tongues, maps inscribed with the position of our sun and the sound of human laughter. These messages are cast into the dark like bottles on a cosmic ocean, hoping for a reply that may never come. Yet hope is not diminished by silence. It is sharpened, made more poignant. The search for others becomes, in part, a search for ourselves, a mirror held up to our own nature, our own capacity for wonder, for hope, for endurance. The great filter reminds us of the rarity and preciousness of our own existence, even as it urges us to keep searching. The night deepens, the stars wheel overhead, and still the question lingers. Somewhere out there, perhaps, another mind is pondering the same mysteries, tracing the same constellations, asking the same questions. Or perhaps the silence is complete, and the only echoes are those we send out ourselves, cast into the void with trembling expectation. The journey into this mystery is far from over. As technology advances, as our understanding of life's possibilities grows, new tools and methods emerge, each one promising to sharpen our senses, to push back the boundaries of what we know. The silence of the stars is not a verdict, but an invitation, a call to listen more deeply, to imagine more boldly, to seek with ever greater patience. Somewhere, in the interplay of wonder and science, of myth and method, the search continues. The echoes of the cosmos are faint, but they persist, threading through our dreams and our waking hours alike. The night is vast, but we are not without hope. In the spaces between the stars, in the silence that surrounds us, the next chapter waits to be written, by us or by others or by the universe itself. And so, with a sense of awe and a touch of trepidation, we press onward into the unknown. The night sky, cold and immense, is a cathedral of unspoken riddles. As we gaze upward, every pinprick of starlight seems to whisper of possibility, of other worlds and other minds. Yet for all the shimmering invitations, we find ourselves surrounded by a profound and cosmic silence. This silence, at once beautiful and unnerving, forms the heart of a puzzle that has haunted astronomers and philosophers for generations. If the universe is so old and so vast, and if the laws of physics seem to favor the emergence of life, then where is everybody? Why, in all this cosmic vastness, do we seem so utterly alone? This is the Fermi paradox, the stark contradiction between the high probability of extraterrestrial civilizations and the utter lack of evidence, or even the faintest whisper of their existence. It is named after the physicist Enrico Fermi, who, during a lunchtime conversation in 1950, famously asked, "Where is everybody?" In those simple words lies a scientific riddle of profound consequence. To navigate this silence, we must step gently but deeply into the concept known as the Great Filter. The Great Filter is not a physical object or a single event, but rather a conceptual sieve, an invisible series of bottlenecks through which life must pass before it can achieve the kind of technological prowess that would make its presence known across the stars. The filter proposes that somewhere along the path from lifeless matter to galaxy-spanning civilizations, there are steps so difficult, so improbable, that almost all life fails to pass through. Let us imagine the journey of life as a series of doors, each more difficult to open than the last. The first door is the emergence of life itself from non-living chemistry. The second might be the leap from simple, single-celled organisms to complex, multicellular life. Still other doors include the rise of intelligence, the development of technology, and finally the ability to survive long enough to send signals across the void or travel between stars. At any one of these thresholds, most would-be civilizations may falter and perish, unable to progress further. This concept, while haunting, is also oddly serene. It frames the silence not as a rebuke, but as a testimony to the rarity or danger of the journey itself. Yet, where exactly does the Great Filter lie? Is it behind us, making our own existence an almost unimaginable stroke of luck? Or is it still ahead, a looming obstacle that no civilization has yet managed to overcome? The darkness between the stars holds its breath, and we are left to wonder. Some hope, even quietly pray, that the filter is already behind us. Perhaps the emergence of life from the chemical chaos of early Earth, a process called abiogenesis, is so fantastically rare that it has happened only once in our galaxy, or perhaps even in the visible universe. If so, then every beating heart is a kind of miracle, a singular triumph over impossibility. The universe may be filled with sterile planets, beautiful but barren, their surfaces untouched by the flicker of consciousness. In this scenario, our loneliness is not a sign of impending doom, but of improbable fortune. Others fear, however, that the filter lies ahead. Perhaps civilizations invariably destroy themselves when they reach a certain level of technological advancement, falling victim to nuclear war, ecological collapse, or the unpredictable dangers of their own creations. Or perhaps the universe itself is more dangerous than we know, filled with cosmic hazards that snuff out nascent societies before they can make themselves known. If the filter is in our future, then the silence of the cosmos is a warning, a faint echo of extinction drifting across the emptiness. To unravel this further, let us turn to the numbers. The so-called Drake equation is a mathematical framework that attempts to estimate the number of communicative civilizations in our galaxy. It multiplies together a series of probabilities: the rate of star formation, the fraction of stars with planets, the number of planets that could support life, the fraction of those where life actually appears, the fraction of life that becomes intelligent, the fraction of intelligent life that develops technology, and the average lifespan of such civilizations. Each of these factors is a door in the great filter, and at each stage uncertainty blooms like a fog. For years, the first terms of the equation were little more than guesswork. But in recent decades, our telescopes have begun to pierce the mystery. We now know that planets are common, not rare. Nearly every star you see has its own retinue of worlds. Some are rocky and temperate, bathed in the gentle warmth of their suns. Water too seems abundant, locked in icy moons or hidden beneath the clouds of distant giants. The cosmos is not stingy with its ingredients. Yet with every discovery, the silence grows louder. We have scanned the heavens for radio signals, searched for the chemical scars of industry on exoplanet atmospheres, and listened patiently for the briefest pulse of artificial origin. In all this, we have found nothing. Not a whisper, not a flicker, not a trace. The universe, for all its generosity, seems to hold its secrets tightly. It is tempting to imagine this as a technological problem. Perhaps our instruments are simply too primitive, or our methods too crude. Perhaps we are listening on the wrong frequencies, or looking for the wrong signs. Yet the scale of the silence is itself a clue. If even a single civilization survived long enough to spread beyond its homeworld, colonizing star after star, the galaxy would be forever changed. Their machines and signals would outlast their makers, echoing for millions of years. The fact that we see nothing suggests that either such civilizations are exceedingly rare, or that something stops them, some filter, silent and unseen. Let us pause here and consider some common misconceptions. It is easy to imagine that advanced civilizations would inevitably wish to communicate, to reach out across the void and announce their presence. But communication on the scale of light years is not a trivial undertaking. The energy required to send powerful signals, the patience to wait centuries for a reply, the uncertainty of whether anyone is listening, all these factors may conspire to encourage silence. Perhaps civilizations become introspective, turning their gaze inward rather than outward. Perhaps they use communication technologies that are invisible to us, or abandon electromagnetic signals altogether in favor of methods we have not yet imagined. Another misconception is that life and intelligence are inevitable given the right conditions. The history of Earth suggests otherwise. For nearly 4 billion years, life was dominated by simple, single-celled organisms. The leap to complex animals, and still later to self-aware intelligence, took almost unimaginably long. Catastrophic events, asteroid impacts, global freezes, supervolcanic eruptions could easily have sterilized the planet at any point, erasing all progress. The universe may be filled with planets where life never moves beyond the microbial, where the silence is broken only by the quiet chemistry of replication. And then, of course, there is the possibility that we are looking at time through the wrong lens. Civilizations may rise and fall in cosmic instants, their lifespans brief compared to the age of the stars. Two civilizations might exist on neighboring worlds, separated by only a few hundred years in time, forever missing each other's signals. The silence in this view is not absolute but ephemeral, a trick of timing and distance. There is also the daunting specter of self-destruction. As a civilization's technology advances, so too does its capacity for catastrophe. Biological weapons, artificial intelligence run amok, climate change, resource wars. each a possible door that swings shut, trapping a society before it can reach maturity. The universe may be teeming with the ghosts of civilizations, their ruins silent beneath alien suns. Yet, we must be careful not to let our own fears shape our theories. The Great Filter is not a prophecy, but a question. It asks us to consider the odds, to weigh our own fortune, and to look to the future with both humility and curiosity. The silence of the stars is not an answer, but an invitation to seek, to wonder, and to prepare. Some thinkers have suggested that the silence is itself a kind of message. Perhaps there is a reason to be quiet, a cosmic game of hide-and-seek in which the winners are those who remain unseen. If dangerous predators lurk in the dark, civilizations may learn to veil their presence, sending no signals, building no beacons, and leaving no traces. The universe, in this chilling view, is a forest at midnight, and every rustle is a potential threat. Others, more optimistic, see the silence as a challenge. If life is rare, then perhaps it is our duty to ensure its survival, to become the voice that echoes through the void. In this view, the Great Filter is not a barrier, but a call to stewardship, to guard against our own destruction, to cherish our fragile world, and to dream of reaching out to the stars. As we drift through this labyrinth of possibilities, let us remember that our own journey is still unfolding. The history of life on Earth is a tapestry woven from chance, catastrophe, and persistence. We are the descendants of survivors, shaped by eons of trial and error. The silence of the universe may be a mirror, reflecting our own uncertainties and hopes. The Fermi paradox remains, suspended like a question mark in the night. It is neither a promise nor a warning, but a prompt to deeper inquiry. What if the filter is not a single event, but a series of thresholds, each narrowing the path a little further? What if, somewhere out there, another civilization is asking the same questions, listening for the same whisper in the dark? In the end, the silence is both a mystery and a companion. It urges us to look deeper, to listen more closely, and to wonder what lies beyond the next door. The stars keep their secrets, but in the quiet spaces between them we find the courage to ask and to hope. Beyond the mathematics and the probabilities, beyond the fears of destruction and the dreams of discovery, there is the simple, haunting beauty of not knowing. The universe is not obliged to reveal its secrets, and we are not guaranteed an answer. Yet, in the act of seeking, in the patient listening and the gentle questioning, we become something more than mere observers. We become participants in the great unfolding of cosmic history, navigators in the silence, charting a course through the unknown. And so, with every telescope turned to the sky, with every signal sent and every question asked, we take another step. The silence is not empty, but full of potential. It is the canvas upon which we paint our hopes, our fears, and our dreams of what might be. The path ahead may be long and uncertain. The doors of the Great Filter may stand open or closed, waiting for us to find the courage to turn the handle. The night is deep, and the stars are watching. Somewhere in the quiet, the next chapter awaits, waiting to be discovered, waiting to be written. As you settle into the embrace of night, let the silence be your companion, a gentle mystery that lulls and beckons. For in the stillness, new questions gather, and the journey continues, ever onward, through the darkness, toward the dawn. The story of our search for cosmic companionship is written not only in the dreams of poets and philosophers, but in the quiet hum of radio receivers, the measured gaze of space telescopes, and the whirring instruments nestled within probes that have slipped the gravitational grasp of Earth, venturing out to read the cryptic script of the stars. For as long as we have watched the sky, we have wondered, are we alone? And if not, what tools might we build to answer a question so vast and so delicate, so intimate and so immense? The journey begins, in some sense, with the power of sight. Our ancestors, standing beneath a velvet dome dusted with distant fires, learned to see patterns, to track the wandering lights, to tell stories about the constellations. But their eyes, miraculous as they were, could only gather so much. The faintest threads of the universe, the whispers of other worlds, the subtle colours of distant suns, the hidden signals of life would require new ways of seeing. So we built telescopes. At first, these were simple lenses, polished and curved by hand, peering up from Italian hilltops and Dutch villages. Galileo's modest tube showed him the moons of Jupiter and the phases of Venus, and with each revelation, the universe seemed to grow larger and more mysterious. Over centuries, our glass grew sharper, our mirrors broader, our ambitions higher. Today, the telescopes of Earth are titans, observatories perched atop mountains, their domes slicing through the cold air, their mirrors capturing photons that have journeyed for millions of years. Some, like the twin Keck telescopes in Hawaii, are so large they can resolve features on distant moons. Others, like the Atacama Large Millimeter Array, listen to the universe in radio waves, mapping the cold birthplaces of stars and planets. Yet Earth is a restless place. Its atmosphere shimmers and blurs the light, its air thick with water and dust. To see more clearly, we learn to climb higher, to launch our eyes into the stillness above the sky. The Hubble Space Telescope became a sentinel in low Earth orbit, its gaze unblinking, its vision sharp enough to see galaxies at the edge of time. Hubble's images have become our windows onto cosmic history. Pillars of gas where stars are born, the faint arcs of gravitational lensing, the ghostly remains of supernovae. But Hubble is only the first among many sentinels. The James Webb Space Telescope, with its golden honeycomb of mirrors, was designed to peer deeper still into the infrared shadows where newborn planets and distant ancient galaxies hide their secrets. With these tools, we study not only the grandeur of the cosmos, but the small, fragile possibility of life. The search for habitable worlds, planets that might cradle oceans, atmospheres, and perhaps even living things, has become a central theme of modern astronomy. Each exoplanet discovered is a potential story, a world with its own tempests and sunsets, its own geologies and climates. Some orbit close to their stars, seared by heat. Others dwell far out, cloaked in perpetual twilight. Among these we seek the Goldilocks worlds, planets not too hot, not too cold, where liquid water might flow and life in some form might emerge. Finding these worlds is a delicate art, a matter of shadows and subtlety. We cannot see most exoplanets directly. They are lost in the glare of their stars. Instead, we watch for the tiniest dips in starlight as a planet crosses in front of its sun, a technique called the transit method. The Kepler Space Telescope, launched in 2009, stared at a single patch of sky for years, watching over 150,000 stars and detecting the faint, regular dimming that signaled a planet's passage. From these blinks, astronomers deduced not only the presence of planets, but their sizes, their orbits, and sometimes even the composition of their atmospheres. For those atmospheres, we have learned to use the starlight itself as a probe. As a planet transits its star, some of the light filters through its air, leaving fingerprints, patterns of absorption that reveal the presence of water vapor, methane, carbon dioxide, and other molecules. These are the substances of life as we know it. In the future, telescopes like the James Webb and its successors will turn their spectroscopic gaze to ever more distant and Earth-like worlds, searching for those vital signs, the chemical imbalances, the telltale gases that could hint at living processes. But even as our vision extends outward, so too does our hearing. For nearly a century, we have been listening for voices in the dark. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI, arose from the realization that if intelligent beings exist elsewhere, they might use radio waves as we do to communicate across the void. In 1960, Frank Drake aimed a radio telescope at two nearby stars and listened, hoping for a signal that would break the cosmic silence. The experiment was quiet, but it launched a movement, a scientific odyssey fueled by curiosity and the stubborn hope that we are not the only storytellers in the universe. Today, SETI is both a discipline and a dream. The Allen Telescope Array, a forest of dishes in the California hills, scans the sky relentlessly, searching for patterns in the static, narrow-band signals, repeating pulses, anything that stands apart from the background noise of the galaxy. Volunteers around the world lend their home computers to sift through mountains of data, looking for that single, improbable anomaly that could be the shout of another civilization. SETI is not merely a project, but a philosophy. It asks us to imagine not only alien biology, but alien minds, ways of thinking, communicating, and existing that could be utterly unlike our own. It humbles us, reminding us that our experience of consciousness, of culture, of technology, is but one thread in a tapestry that could be infinitely varied. And so we listen, patient and persistent, ears open to the murmurings of the cosmos. Yet not all our searches are so passive. Sometimes we send our own voices outward, messages encoded in metal and light, hoping they will cross the gulfs between stars. The Voyager probes, launched in 1977, carry with them golden records, phonograph discs etched with the sounds of Earth, greetings in dozens of languages, music from Bach to Blind Willie Johnson, the laughter of children, the roar of the surf. These records are time capsules, invitations, artifacts of a civilization reaching out into the dark. Voyager 1, now more than 20 billion kilometers from home, is a silent ambassador, traveling endlessly through the interstellar night, its message awaiting a listener who may never come. Beyond the search for intelligence, we also yearn to find life in simpler forms, microbes clinging to alien rocks, organisms thriving in the hidden seas beneath icy crusts. Our robots have become our scouts, venturing where we cannot yet go. The Mars rovers, Spirit, Opportunity, Curiosity, Perseverance, have trundled across red plains and ancient riverbeds, drilling into stone, sniffing the thin air for traces of methane, searching for the chemical signatures of past or present life. Perseverance, the newest of these explorers, carries instruments designed to cache samples for future return to Earth, where they can be analyzed with all the subtlety and precision of our laboratories. Mars is not the only target. The moons of the outer planets beckon with their mysteries. Europa, encased in a shell of ice, is believed to hide a global ocean beneath its frozen surface, a world of perpetual night warmed by the tides of Jupiter. There, in the darkness, hydrothermal vents could provide energy and nutrients, as they do in Earth's deep oceans, where life flourishes without sunlight. NASA's upcoming Europa Clipper mission will orbit and scan the Moon, mapping its ice and searching for plumes of water that might burst from cracks, carrying hints of what lies beneath. Enceladus, a small moon of Saturn, also erupts with geysers, jets of water vapor and ice, spiked with organic molecules. The Cassini spacecraft flew through these plumes, tasting their chemistry, and found tantalizing hints of habitability. The promise of these ocean worlds is profound, that life, once thought to require sunlight and warmth, might emerge wherever there is water, energy, and the right mix of elements. As we probe these distant places, we also learn to look for life's traces in subtler ways. The discipline of astrobiology unites chemists, geologists, biologists, and astronomers in the study of life's possibilities, both as it is and as it could be. They ponder the range of chemistries that might support metabolism, the climates that could foster complexity, the evolutionary paths that might lead to intelligence. Astrobiologists also consider the signatures life might leave behind, biosignatures, whether in the gases of a distant planet's atmosphere, the isotopes in Martian rocks, or the complex organic molecules drifting through the clouds of Titan. The study of cosmic clues is a dance of patience and ingenuity. Sometimes it is the faintest anomaly, a chemical out of place, a flicker in a spectrum, that sends ripples of excitement through the scientific community. The detection of phosphine in the clouds of Venus, for example, sparked debate and wonder. Could this be a marker of microbial life, or merely an exotic chemistry we do not yet understand? Such mysteries remind us that every answer breeds more questions, and that the process of discovery is endless and exhilarating. We have also learned to expand our senses, to see not only invisible light, but across the electromagnetic spectrum. X-ray telescopes reveal the violent hearts of galaxies, where black holes devour stars and spew jets of energy into space. Infrared observatories peer through dust clouds, uncovering the nurseries of stars and planets. Radio arrays map the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the Big Bang, a fossil record of the universe's earliest moments. Each wavelength tells a different story, and together they weave a picture of a cosmos both intricate and alive with possibility. Looking forward, our ambitions grow bolder. Projects like Breakthrough Listen propose to scan the million nearest stars for artificial signals, using the largest radio telescopes on Earth. The proposed Louvois and Habex space telescopes would image Earth-like planets directly, searching for the pale blue dots that might, in turn, gaze back at us. Missions to Titan, Europa, and Enceladus are being planned. Their instruments designed to sniff, taste, and touch the alien environments of these enigmatic worlds. Through all of this, we remain humble before the enormity of what we do not know. Each tool, each mission, each listening ear and watching eye brings us closer to the answers we seek, but also deepens the mystery. The cosmos is an ancient, intricate web, and our efforts to unearth its clues are both a testament to our curiosity and a reminder of our smallness. The night stretches on, and above us the universe swirls in silent motion, its secrets waiting to be discovered. In the next chapter, we will turn our gaze from the tools we wield and the clues we gather to the profound questions that haunt us still. What might alien life look like, and how would its discovery reshape our sense of who we are and of our place among the stars? The story does not end, but opens ever wider, inviting us to dream further and deeper, to imagine and to seek. Across the immeasurable gulf of space, where stars shimmer with ancient light and galaxies swirl in silent ballet, humanity has cast its gaze outward, yearning for a sign, any sign, that we are not alone. Yet, as radio telescopes sweep the sky and robotic emissaries crawl across distant planetary surfaces, there remains only a profound silence, at once beautiful and unsettling. This silence is not merely the absence of chatter. It is a mirror, reflecting questions so vast and deep that they seem to reach into the very bones of our species. The concept of the Great Filter, this theoretical barrier that might prevent life, intelligence, or advanced civilizations from becoming common in the universe, serves as both a puzzle and a lens, refracting our hopes, fears, and self-understanding. To contemplate the Great Filter is to peer into a kind of cosmic looking glass. We see not only the possibility of others, but also ourselves, our past, our present, and the shimmering, uncertain tapestry of our future. In this gentle hour, as the world outside softens into quiet, let us drift together through the philosophical terrain that the Great Filter opens before us. Let us ask what it means to be alone, to search, to hope, and to wonder about the fate of not just our species, but all who might have ever looked up and dreamed. Begin by imagining the earliest humans clustered around flickering fires beneath a sky so clear and dark that the Milky Way cut a pale river overhead. Long before radio telescopes or space probes, those ancient peoples must have felt the same mixture of awe and isolation, a sense that the universe was vast beyond measure, filled with mystery and danger. They could not know, as we do now, just how enormous the cosmos truly is, nor how fragile and rare life might be. Yet in their myths and stories they reached out, seeking connection with something beyond themselves. Fast forward through the centuries, and the questions have only grown sharper. Are we the first to walk this road of reason, or merely one in a long procession, most of whom have already been lost to time and catastrophe? The great filter, in its starkness, forces us to consider, what if there are obstacles so immense in the path from life's origin to cosmic civilization, that nearly all who try are swept away? What if every world teeming with promise eventually meets some inescapable doom? In this light, the silence of the stars is not just a mystery, but a warning, perhaps a eulogy for countless civilizations that never made it to the next step. But to dwell on the filter is also to turn that searching gaze inward. It invites us to ask, where do we stand upon this precipice? Have we already passed through the most harrowing gates, winning the cosmic lottery by virtue of our very existence? Or does the greatest challenge still lie ahead, a shadow we cannot yet see? In both possibilities there is a lesson and a kind of trembling hope. If the great filter lies behind us, then humanity is rare beyond imagining. Perhaps the leap from chemistry to biology, or from simple cells to the complex tapestry of animal life, is so improbable that it has happened only once in the observable universe. In this scenario, our existence is a miracle, a singular bloom in a desert of lifeless worlds. Every heartbeat, every poem, every act of kindness or cruelty becomes immeasurably precious. Our art, our science, our laughter, and even our mistakes are the only such examples the cosmos has ever known. The implications are both exhilarating and sobering, for to squander such a gift would be to betray not only ourselves, but the universe that made us possible. Alternatively, if the filter lies ahead, then we are travelers on a dangerous road, approaching hazards we cannot yet discern. The silence may not be the echo of past failures, but a hush that precedes a storm. Perhaps every civilization that reaches a certain level of knowledge or power stumbles upon the same traps: ecological collapse, runaway technology, self-destruction, or something stranger yet. The filter becomes a question not of history, but of character, a test of wisdom, restraint, and foresight. Consider for a moment the paradox of technological progress. On the one hand, our tools have lifted us from the savannah to the stars. We have doubled our lifespans, mapped the genome, split the atom, and sent fragile spacecraft beyond the solar wind. Yet each step forward has brought new perils: nuclear arsenals that could erase cities in an instant, climate disruption on a planetary scale, biotechnologies that could be misused in ways unthinkable to our ancestors. The very ingenuity that marks us as a species may also be our undoing, if not tempered by humility and care. Under the light of the great filter, these dilemmas grow sharper. It is not enough to be clever or industrious. Wisdom becomes a survival trait. The silence of the cosmos becomes a teacher, urging us to tread carefully, to recognize the razor's edge upon which we walk. If other civilizations have failed, was it because they reached too far, too fast? Did they exhaust their worlds, unleash forces they could not contain, or fall victim to divisions within their own societies? In seeking answers, we are forced to examine our own choices with new clarity. There is a kind of gentle terror in knowing that the universe does not guarantee survival. Evolution has no foresight, nor does the cosmos owe us a future. Our continued existence depends not on luck alone, but on the qualities we nurture within ourselves: compassion, cooperation, curiosity, and the ability to see beyond our immediate desires. The great filter challenges us to become not merely a technological species, but a wise one. Yet there is another dimension to this cosmic riddle, a softer light that glimmers even against the darkness. To search for others, to wonder about the fate of distant intelligences, is to affirm something deeply human, a refusal to be content with our own reflection. The very act of listening for alien signals, of sending messages into the void, is a gesture of hope, an open hand extended into the unknown. It is an act of faith in the possibility of kinship, however faint or distant. In this sense, the great filter is not merely a barrier, but a mirror in which we glimpse our own yearnings and vulnerabilities. It asks us not only what dangers lie ahead, but what kind of beings we wish to become. If we are truly alone, then the responsibility we bear is immense. The stories we tell, the cultures we build, the worlds we shape, all of these become the sole testimony of mind in a vast, indifferent universe. Our moral and scientific choices ripple outward, unshared and unjudged, except by ourselves. But if against the odds there are others, hidden by distance, by time, or by their own silences, then the universe is richer and stranger than we have ever imagined. Each civilization, each spark of consciousness, becomes a thread in a tapestry too complex for any one mind to grasp. The search for life becomes a kind of pilgrimage, a journey not only outward but inward, as we seek to understand what unites all who wonder and strive. Philosophers and poets have long pondered the question of meaning in a universe that appears silent and indifferent. For some, the absence of cosmic company is a cause for despair, a sign that life is fragile, accidental, and ultimately alone. For others, it is a call to creativity and stewardship, an invitation to fill the silence with meaning of our own making. The great filter, in all its ambiguity, does not answer these questions for us. It only sharpens them, casting them into starker relief. There is, too, a peculiar solace in knowing that the journey is open-ended. As we contemplate the silence of the stars, we are reminded that the universe is not finished, nor is our story complete. The challenges we face, ecological, technological, social, are daunting, but not yet decisive. The great filter may yet prove passable if we are wise, or it may reveal itself in forms we cannot yet imagine. The crux of the matter is that the future is not written. Each generation, each choice, becomes a thread in the great unfolding, a chance to tip the balance towards survival or oblivion. This knowledge can inspire caution, yes, but also a kind of quiet courage. To live in the shadow of the filter is to recognize that we are the inheritors of countless unlikely events. Our existence is not guaranteed, but neither is it meaningless. Each advance in science, each act of kindness, each creative leap is an act of defiance against the odds. In caring for our world and each other, in seeking knowledge and beauty, we become participants in the great cosmic drama rather than its passive spectators. In the hush of this moment, as night deepens and thoughts grow slow and gentle, consider the paradox at the heart of the great filter. We search the skies for echoes of others, but in doing so we come to know ourselves more deeply. The silence is not empty, but filled with questions that touch on the deepest chords of our being. Who are we to have come so far? What kind of world do we wish to build? What legacy will we leave should we prove to be the first, the last, or simply one among many? As telescopes grow more powerful and our probes reach ever farther, we may one day find an answer, whether in a trickle of data from a distant planet or in the quiet resilience of our own survival. Until then, the great filter remains both a mystery and a meditation, a threshold that challenges us to become the best versions of ourselves. Our search for life is, in the end, a search for meaning, a journey that leads outward, across the star fields, but also inward to the fragile, luminous heart of what it means to be human. Through the lens of the great filter, every dawn takes on new significance. The laughter of children, the perseverance of scientists, the silent labor of plants turning sunlight into breath, all become part of the same improbable story. In this story, we are both the authors and the audience, shaping the plot with every action, every discovery, every act of grace or folly. If the cosmos is watching, it does so with the patience of eons, waiting to see whether we will falter or flourish. But perhaps the greater question is not whether others are watching, but whether we are capable of seeing ourselves clearly, learning from the silence, honoring the past, and rising to the challenges that lie ahead. So, as you drift towards sleep, let your thoughts wander across the spaces between stars. Let them linger on the delicate chain of events that led from stardust to consciousness, from silence to song. The great filter is not an answer, but a question, a call to reflection, to humility, and to wonder. It whispers that the future is still unwritten, and that in the hush of the universe we are invited to listen, to learn, and to become. Somewhere, perhaps, the first faint signal waits to be heard, or the seeds of wisdom to be sown. Until then, the night is ours, filled with the promise of discovery and the quiet courage to face whatever lies ahead. Let the stars keep their counsel a while longer as we dream and as we wonder still. As our journey through the mysteries of the great filter drifts to a close, we float gently like a comet tail fading into the hush of space, pondering the quiet vastness that cradles us all. May this gentle wonder settle softly in your mind, inviting peaceful dreams of stars yet unseen. Rest easy, and when you're ready, return with me for more Dreamtime tales that whisper the secrets of the cosmos.